As you guys know, in Nashville, Tennessee, at the Covenant Christian School, it's a private facility, a private school. A school shooting occurred by someone who went to that school. Originally, the initial reports stated that the perpetrator was a teenage girl. We then later found out, pretty shortly after, that the statements, the updated statements, was that it was a 28-year-old girl. Turns out, from what I understand, it was not actually a what? Are you okay? Take a week off. Okay. Like, there's no ads running right now. The 3-minute ad break is over already. Anyway, gaming on his main monitor probably, and I just fucking banned him. Okay. Where was I? So, the second report was that it was a 28-year-old girl. That was also false. From what we understand, this was a trans man, okay? An AFAB trans man, assigned female at birth, trans man who did the shooting. Why is this important? Because there's a lot of like misgendering and stuff happening, and it is taking the conversation away from it was a trans woman. Wait, what? It's a trans woman? No. Wait. No, it was not a trans woman. It is no. It's a trans man. No. This is the reason why I'm using the terminology AFAB, assigned female at birth, because this is a confusing process for a lot of people. The articles have been calling him a trans woman. The irony of this, the sad and weird, dark, twisted irony of this is that gender is an expression, ultimately. Not that this is the main point of contention on the story, but that's precisely the reason why a lot of people fucking, one, have, weirdo brain about trans people in general. It, like, breaks their brain entirely. And two, don't really understand it. Like, don't really comprehend it, can't really comprehend it. Trans men in general are also additionally invisible, usually, in the eyes of the public. So much so that it truly breaks people's brains when you bring trans men into the conversation. Ultimately, obviously, the main point of contention here is the shooting itself. The reason why I'm mentioning the trans aspect of it is because the right wing are using this to weaponize this against trans people in general, which is wild to do when there have been 2,870 fucking mass shootings over the course of the past couple of years, and then there's finally a mass shooting where there's actually a trans person who did the mass shooting, and they're like, oh, that's it, dude, mass shootings are happening in America all the time because of trans people. It's like, that's crazy. That's wild. A wild thing to fucking say. But of course, they have been saying this every single time anyway. They've been saying that every single time a mass shooting happens, it's a trans person, it's a trans person, it's a trans person. When it's not a trans person, they just shut the fuck up, they move on, and they do it again. Rinse and repeat. Okay? I don't want to get into a stun log about, like, is it appropriate to fucking misgender a bad person or whatever? Like, it's idiotic to have this conversation. No, of course not. That's when you misgender someone, it's like, it's not appropriate to call if there was a black school shooter, it's not appropriate to call them the N-word or anything, clearly. So, that is the same principle behind it, because when you do that, you're just signaling to everyone that you are a racist person. When you do that, you're signaling to everyone that you're a transphobic person. Doesn't matter. Okay? There you go. That's my take on that part of it. Stop. Don't even engage with that kind of conversation. It's really fucking stupid. It's really counterproductive. The main point here is that yet another school shooting happened, and there are a lot of interesting components to this one, specifically that, of course, revolve around the shooter being trans, especially because the right is using this and weaponizing this against trans people in general. We will talk about that later. Here are some of the details.
What we know about the Covenant murders on yesterday. There's one rumor going on throughout the community that we want to take a moment to clear up. There are those who think that specific individuals were targeted by the shooter who entered the building on Monday. We have no evidence that individuals were specifically targeted. This school, this church building, was a target of the shooter, but we have no information at present to indicate that the shooter was specifically targeting any one of the 6 individuals who were murdered. Chief John Drake will now update you on the progress of the investigation overnight and this morning, including what we know about the individual's purchases of firearms over the past couple of years. Again, this will be a brief briefing today. Chief John Drake.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again for being here. Just a brief update of what we know right now. We've interviewed the parents of Audrey Hale, and we've determined that Audrey bought 7 firearms from 5 different local gun stores here legally. They were legally purchased.
Huh. That's interesting. Maybe there should be something about that. Maybe that shouldn't be a thing that you can do like so easily. I'm just saying, like, for example, as far as we understand, the shooter in this circumstance was suicidal. Perhaps if you are a suicidal person, you shouldn't have guns. I mean, that's like the most basic thing, okay? If you want to cut down on veteran suicide rates, if you want to cut down on just suicide rates in this country in general, that's a really easy way to just eliminate that. You won't fully eradicate it, but it's a very easy way to basically cut that problem at least in fucking half. If you're suicidal, you can't buy a gun, okay? It's for your own fucking good. Now, before someone turns around and says, well, you're going to disarm our veterans. Yes, for their own good, okay? The Second Amendment lovers can suck my cock, okay?
3 of those weapons were used yesterday during this horrific tragedy that happened. We know that they felt that she had 1 weapon and that she sold it. She was under doctor's care for an emotional disorder. Law enforcement knew nothing about the treatment she was receiving, but her parents felt that she should not own weapons. They were under the impression that when she sold the 1 weapon that she did not own anymore. As it turned out, she had been hiding several weapons within the house. We also don't have a motive at this time. We feel that these students that were targeted were randomly targeted.
Hasan doesn't understand shall not be infringed. Dude, please stop LARPing, okay? Please, I beg you, just stop fucking LARPing, dude. I'm not even talking about, like, not giving guns to every single person. I just literally said well-regulated, and also regulation. A part of regulation revolves around taking guns away from suicidal people, depressed people. People with chronic depression should not have access to weapons. Okay? Please. You are so fucking stupid if you think that this incredibly common idea, this incredibly common concept that like every other nation pretty much has decided is like going to be the bare minimum rule that they apply. I don't know what to tell you. Okay? It is so frustrating to have this conversation over and over again. Everyone needs a gun, problem solved. I think, I'm going to be honest, you're too stupid Like, you also do not make the bare minimum, like, brain processing capability to have a gun as well. I've decided suicidal and people with the chronic depression should not have weapons. Pretty simple thing. Pretty simple concept. Okay? And then you, because you're too stupid. How about that? Take 30 seconds off. Think about that. Stop baiting me when I'm talking about some serious shit. Hasanabi got that California brain rot. It is not California brain rot to say depressed people with chronic depression, suicidal people should not have access to weapons. It's American brain rot to think that I'm brain rotted for saying the most common sense thing. And it's not even because they will harm others. In the very rare instance, a suicidal person might harm others. Okay? Incredibly rare. The reason why I'm saying this is not because this will stop suicidal people from harming others. It's because this will stop suicidal people from harming themselves. The thing that I'm stating here requires mental health evaluations before ownership of a weapon, which is an unimaginable concept in a bumfuck, idiotic, hick-ass, backwards-ass, troglodyte-ass fucking country like the United States of America, where we have nothing, so we might as well get all of our fucking treats and we might as well get our guns, okay? The real reason why I'm stating this, however, and many people ate the bait and didn't even realize it, is because when you are a suicidal person and you have a fucking gun, you oftentimes will use the gun to kill yourself with it. You will literally cut 50% of suicides in the country. A gigantic percentage of veteran suicides that come from literally just guns. Just being a veteran with PTSD, chronic depression, and a litany of other mental health complications, and having an arsenal is such a major issue that the United States Department of Defense, or the VA's solution to this, is this, okay? Here. You want to see how fucked up this country is, dude?
Crisis can happen unexpectedly to anyone. And though it may seem like a small barrier, a simple lock puts space between the thought and the trigger.
These are the ads that run. They used to run on Twitch as well at the top of the hour when I ran a fucking commercial break. Like, how are you going to act like this is not a real issue in this fucking problem, dude? I mean, issue in this fucking country, dude.
Crisis can happen unexpectedly to anyone. And though it may seem like a small barrier, a simple lock puts space between the thought and the trigger. Learn how securing your guns can help prevent suicide.
I love that, like, we don't have anything. Hasan trolling moment, right? Because he doesn't understand it at all. Bad take. Yes, dude, you're right. Every veteran should actually have a weapon if they have PTSD and a chronic depression, so they can fucking kill themselves, as they often do. So frequently that, like, the U.S. military has decided to, like, try to combat the problem. Of course, they can't do anything about the problem. 22 veterans a day killed themselves, okay? A lot of them use guns. But hey, you know what? It's such a big issue that the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs thought maybe we could do, like, a gun lock or something, and that will help. I work with veterans, and these locks can make a huge difference. However, the real goal is to remove access altogether. Yeah, no shit. That's my point. This is literally a Band-Aid that is demonstrably not all that effective. Can you imagine? It is such a big fucking issue, okay? It's such a big issue that the VA was like, please just, like, you know, have a moment of recollection before you fucking kill yourself with a gun. We can't do anything about the guns, okay? We can't do anything about that. But, like, please, just at least the lock on the gun will, like, stop you for a brief moment, especially if you put a photo of your family there. What if you have no family? What if you don't have the photo? I'm a vet. Literally every intervention specialist from the VA will tell you to take your guns away from your peers if they're having trouble, or if you're having suicidal thoughts or depression, to give them to a friend. I've stored guns for friends in rough places while they get help. This isn't an insane take. I know. But every fucking jingoistic, military-loving LARPer in the chat is like, nah, brother, you don't fucking understand. Our veterans need to have their weapons on them at all times. Like, they're just... It's like literally fucking idiotic kids in Iowa who are like fantasizing about guns and fantasizing about the yee ass dumbass fucking vets and how they fantasize about how veterans are, not really thinking about how, regardless of a person's political background or whatever the fuck they've done, they shouldn't have such an easy way to fucking kill themselves, especially in a country where veteran suicide rates are so goddamn high. You don't understand, brother. What they should do is buy another gun to shoot the gun while they're shooting themselves in the fucking head. 2 guns. That's how you fix it. It's wild that, like, I have this conversation so much, and yet it's still one that, like, people come to me and say, dude, you're fucking wrong about this. You're freaking wrong about this. Dude, I'm tired of the Iowa slander. I'm just minding my goddamn business. Sorry. Yeah, you remember who thought that you should arm fucking veterans? Chris Kyle. Guess what happened to him as he was dealing with, like, someone with crippling PTSD? Oh, that's right. He got fucking shot at the gun range, okay? So maybe not the best idea. Just absolutely fucking murked. Yeah. He got Chris Kyled.
There was not any particular student that she was looking for at the time of the incident. And that's what we know as I speak. And we'll take any questions that you have. So in the manifesto, there's several different writings about other locations. There were locations, there was talks about the school. There was a map of the school, a drawing of how potentially she would enter and the assaults that...
When trans use a gun, they don't talk about trans, they talk about gun. No, man. When white people use a gun, they talk about guns. I talk about guns. That's what I talk about. I talk about gun control in an issue that pertains to gun control. It doesn't fucking matter if the shooter is trans. We are in the United States of America. Of course, inevitably, some trans motherfuckers are going to do mass shootings too. Everybody gets a piece, okay? This is America, baby. The land of the free. Do you understand? It's unimaginable that like every single person for every single background is not going to eventually do a mass shooting in this country. Of course. The most American thing you can do, baby. That's how it works. Yeah, we literally just had an old Asian dude commit a mass shooting, and motherfuckers are like, wow, that's crazy. Like a 67-year-old or 68-year-old Asian dude. Fuck you mean? It's America, goddammit. Everyone gets to do a mass shooting. Once you're in America, you're an American, okay?
That would take place. There's quite a bit of writing to it. I have not read the entire manifesto. Our team and the FBI has been working on this.
Chief, can you clarify where exactly the victims were located? You mentioned the common area where they
Spread out in different locations. When I went into the actual church, the kids had already been transported to the hospital. Also, the 2 of the adults, I did see the head school person, and she was in the hallway by the office. That's the only one. They were spread out, wasn't in one common area, but they were spread out.
Chief Drake, can you talk about the response in terms of targeting other buildings, other places?
There was some writings in the manifesto about other locations, but as far as it being an actual target, I can't confirm that at this time.
Chief, can we talk about your body cam footage? Did you feel like your
One at a
officers
time,
did
please.
everything
One at a
right?
time.
I'm sorry.
Chief, why was CNN just about the 6 victims who were killed? Where exactly were they? Were they walking through the hallways when this happened? And I also you heard peripherally that perhaps the head of the school may have ran towards the shooter.
It's very possible the head of the school could have done that. I can't confirm that one way or the other. I do know she was in the hallway by herself. There was a confrontation, I'm sure. You can tell the way she was laying in the hallway. There was the custodian, the African American, as she shot through the door to enter. She sprayed rounds through the glass, striking him. You could see where he came to rest. As far as the others, they were just spread out in different locations.
Chief, you mentioned ammunition was there.
I can't say it was a confrontation, but they were met. She met the head person in the hallway.
This man right here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Chief, you mentioned the guns, the multiple guns, and that the shooter was under the care of a doctor. Is there any law in this state that would have allowed police to take those guns away from this person had it been reported?
If it had been reported, there's not a law for that, but had it been reported that she was suicidal or that she was going to kill someone and had been made known to us, then we would have tried to get those weapons. But as it stands, we had absolutely no idea actually who this person was, if she even existed. So.
Chief, can you talk a little bit about the time?
What else did the parents say? Did they expect anything like this to happen?
So we know yesterday the Ms. Hale was leaving out of the residence. She had a red bag. They asked her what was in the red bag, and I think she just dismissed it because it was a motherly thing.
Listen, okay. For everybody who's like hyper focusing on the misgendering here, it's understandable to get upset about the misgendering as a trans person, but also remember that like part of the reason why they're misgendering is not because it's deliberate, but because they just don't fucking have a way of this is a trans man, okay? Trans men oftentimes are just like fully seen as invisible. No, they're not doing it because it's a murderer. They're not like weaponizing transphobia. They just don't fucking know, okay? They don't understand it. So everybody, calm down. They literally just do not get it. That's it. That's why you see a lot of people say, that's a trans woman. That's a trans woman when no, he was not a trans woman. He was a trans man, okay? Like, they don't even understand it though. It's not on purpose. So just recognize that there's going to be a lot of this shit. There's going to be a lot of this shit nonstop for the fucking entire week. It's just that people do not personally get it, okay?
And I didn't look in the bag because at the time she didn't know that her daughter had any weapons and didn't think any.
You're going to defend a murder? I'm not defending what? I'm not doing that at all. I am not.
Again, they lost a child, so it's very traumatic for them. So
Chief,
I think you were first.
Yeah.
So
could you talk about the police response? I know they engaged the shooter pretty quickly once they got to the school, but can you talk about the events that led up from when they got the call, what time did they arrive at the school, and could you talk about that time? Because it appears about maybe like 14 minutes or so.
yeah, so they got the call at 10:13, and by 10:24 they had engaged the suspect. As they arrived on the property, there were police cars being hit by gunfire. The suspect was in an upper level. We believe there's been some training of being able to shoot from a higher level. And her gunfire, from the video I've seen, she stood away from the glass so she wouldn't be an easy target to be shot. But as officers were approaching the building, there was gunfire going on. They went in, they went through door by door as we clear buildings. They heard gunfire and immediately ran to that and then took care of the this horrible situation.
And how long did it take officers to actually get to the school initially from when the first call came in?
From the time it went out from 10:13 to 10:24, it was over. The exact time, arrival time, I'm not sure. I know that myself, I ran emergency, and as I got there, they were coming out bloody and all kind of things were happening. So I barely missed being able or being there to go in as well. So it was really quick, the response. And I think you were next. So.
Yeah, Chief, I was just going to ask you about the...
PJ Salt was trying to make a joke about the cop saying you are defending a murderer. That guy's at least shot a homeless person or gave an order to shoot a homeless person. Just tensions are... Here's the thing. Tensions are supposed to be high in the situation, but I'm going to keep it a buck. I don't think they are. You want to know why? Because we as a fucking nation are completely and entirely, utterly desensitized to this kind of violence. Okay? Straight up. Like, even normies that I was talking to were like more confused about the shooter's gender expression than the fact that yet another fucking school shooting happened. Okay? So we've basically got we've gotten so desensitized to murder in general. We've gotten so desensitized to like deaths in general, but especially when it comes to like gun violence, it is such a normal part of American existence that we basically just move beyond the shooting itself and go after like the differences. You know what I mean? We already play the plug and play response, immediate response. You know, don't make this political. Used to be a thing. Now, immediately, of course, everyone makes it political. It's just wild. It is a wild circumstance where it seems like nobody gives a fuck that like children are being shot at schools. It seems like nobody gives a fuck at this point because we have so effectively so effectively gotten to a point where like we all recognize that we don't have any power over this, like at all. Like we have no power over this at all. Everybody gets it. It's just numbness. You know what I mean? People just feel kind of numb because they know like, oh, that's another fucking school shooting. Like this country is a country, the wealthiest nation on earth, one of the most developed countries on the planet. This is a country where more children die to gun violence than they do to fucking car crashes. Like, that's insane. It's the number one killer of children. That's wild. That is fucking wild. All right, if you don't think that that is an issue, I don't know what to fucking tell you. Like, if you don't think that that is a major problem, you're delusional. And you can tell that not only do people don't give a shit, but like right-wingers are basically like fucking salivating and putting the cart before the horse, just jumping on this as an opportunity to be like, yeah, finally we got a shooting where it was actually a trans person. And they're fucking salivating. Like they can't stop talking about it. Tim Pool has been doing that classic like, oh, look at this crazy thing. Over and over again. Over and over again, posting about like, different like trans events and how violent these statements were in these trans events and how that is the reason why, you know, there's this real trans violence happening. Not towards trans people, but like trans people are becoming violent. That's what Tim Pool is trying to make it seem like on Twitter. Over and over and over again. The Parkland shooting was also a turning point where it became acceptable to shit on survivors and victims' families for speaking up about it. Pretty much. Like,
to my knowledge, I do not remember if those two in particular have been in that situation. Officer Collazo has worked as a paramedic with the SWAT team, so I'm sure he's had some type of weapons training. I was really impressed that with all that was going on, the danger that somebody took control and said, let's go, let's go, let's go, and went in and took care and just try to end this situation. But as far as being in this before, I'm unsure. You, sir?
Sir, a friend of the families has reported, a friend of the Hale family has reportedly said that Audrey was autistic. Can you speak to that if you know if that's in fact true?
I can't confirm that. I've heard that, but I can't confirm if that's true or not.
Let's do one more question. One more question, and we're going to stop. One more.
Just on the officers, how are they faring today? 24 hours on.
Any indication of the significance of yesterday, why the shooter may have done this yesterday? And also, do you have anything that could indicate whether the school was targeted for religious reasons?
I can't confirm either. I'm not sure if that we're approaching a holy period at Easter and all of that. I can't confirm any of that. Do not know. And so why she targeted that particular church, we do know she was a student at that church at one point, but unsure right now if that was the reason why. And I think I'll take one more if you.
On your two officers there, how are they feeling today? 24 hours on.
So I talked to them earlier, and they're trying to decompress, trying to make sense of all of this. I talked to President Biden. He's going to reach out and talk to them as well. They're just trying to do whatever they can with their families and just kind of remove themselves from all of this. So.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Chief Drake, would you say the 14-minute response time from getting the call to arriving to the school, is that acceptable? Is that something you want to look back at and see if that was, that there could have been a quicker response time?
So I'll answer that. We evaluate each and every situation, and so one of my principles is we're always looking.
Another sick massacre at a small school. Police raced to the scene where 6 were killed, including 3 9-year-old children.
George, it makes you sick to your stomach to see other students hurried to safety, the terror visible on one child's face through a school bus window. The president ordering flags be flown at half-staff as we are learning more about the victims and a possible motive.
In just a few moments, we will hear from Nashville's chief of police, John Drake, with more on the investigation where it stands right now. But first, Eva Pilgrim is there for us live on the scene in front of the school. Good morning, Eva.
Stop acting like you care. God hates mainstream media. I mean, I don't think anybody cares at this point. Like, I'll be honest with you. So many mass shootings have happened at this point. So many school shootings have happened at this point that, like, so much gun violence happens in America in general that it is literally treated like a hurricane, like a natural disaster. Like, it's just a everyday part of existence. Like, it sucks, but it doesn't fucking matter. Like, that's kind of how it is. There's no expectation even from our legislators to do something about it. So much so that they can basically just come out and be like, yeah, we're not going to do anything about it. Fuck you. Actually, I was literally elected not to do anything about this particular matter. You know? That's part of the reason why people are so fucking focused on the shooter being trans. Like, they moved away from the actual issue. They moved away from, like, the actual issue of, like, yet another school shooting immediately. Like, they don't even give a fuck. They were just, like, more excited that it was a trans person finally, you know? And it's not, I mean, look, this is anecdotal, but, like, I see it from normies. Like, I talk to normies all the time to get a better grounding on, like, how people are perceiving issues. And even normies are just like, oh, another shooting, another school shooting, lol, memes. It's just like, feels like this discussion has already been had with Sandy Hook and Columbine, and it's been established with no legislation be made, just rage bait and pointing fingers till we move on by next week. We have moved on. People will move on by tomorrow. We've already moved on. Shooting happened. There was speculation that it was the shooter was trans, as always. You know, that's like the most common fucking meme at this point. Then they turned around and actually got what they were wishing for, and it was a trans person. Immediately, the conversation turned to the shooter is trans. We got to do something about the trans people. Like immediately, almost instantaneously. It was like the fucking bodies were still warm by the time that like Matt Walsh and the others were already speculating and like literally started talking about how this is about trans people. You know? Don't know what the fuck's going on with the manifesto. There are some additional information about like what the shooter actually DM'd people before doing the shooting, and we'll try to develop a better understanding of what the fuck that was, what the fuck was going on in their head, but you know. But, you know, it's the most American thing. It is the most American thing. I tweeted about this as well. I mean, listen. I posted about this yesterday on my Instagram, but like Benny Johnson and Elon Musk were like giddy over the fact that the shooter was trans, talking about it and how like this is actually a trans issue. 2,840 plus mass shooters over the last 5 years. Okay? 3 of them were trans. If you think this is an issue about trans people and not an issue about guns, like you're a fucking psychotic freak lord. Okay? If you don't like it, get out. Yeah. There's been 14 mass shootings in the past 2 weeks. If you don't like it, get out. Get out where? You know?
Robin, this is a small church school, about 200 students pre-K through 6th grade. The doors of the school were locked, but that shooter firing their way in. And this morning, we have to warn you, the images you're about to see are disturbing.
Overnight, the Metro Nashville Police Department releasing this surveillance video showing the moments the driver of this car shot their way into a private Christian school. Once inside, killing 3 young children and 3 staff members in what police are calling a targeted attack.
All units, be advised, we're under a mass casualty alert.
The first 911 calls coming in at 10:13 a.m.
Be advised, stay out of the general area of Burton Hills Road, Hillsboro Pike, confirmed active shooter.
Authorities identifying the shooter as a 28-year-old female, Audrey Hale, saying the shooter identified as transgender. The surveillance video showing
That's the wildest part. That is like, leaving it at that is the wildest part. Like, what are you doing? Like, if you're going to say that the shooter is trans, don't say the shooter identifies as transgender. Fucking actually say what the shooter's gender is. Like, just even if you say like this is a assigned female of birth, trans man, because like the wildest part about it has been like people are so confused on the matter, and the media is literally not doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is that like you can't just leave it at trans, because then people think this is a trans woman, and that's not the case. Like that's what that. So when I talk about like the misgendering, I know immediately people want to say, Hasan, you're defending a fucking shooter of schools. Like, no, fuck that. He's a freak, okay? Psycho. Like, clearly, a broken person, okay? Awful to the goddamn core. It's an unimaginable thing to do. Everybody understands that. Everybody fucking recognizes that. That is well established. When I talk about the misgendering or the person being trans, the reason why I stay on the subject for a brief moment and explain it is because I care about the truth. You know what I mean? It's what you're supposed to do if you are in the media. You're supposed to actually explain what the facts are. And when you don't do that and you leave it like that, people are fucking confused. There are people in this community that thought this was a trans woman because of the way that the media was covering it. These are details. If you want to make these details like important, then at least have the decency to like cover it normally, like cover it in the way that it actually is. You know what I mean? That's a brief aside, though, because the main point of contention here should be yet another motherfucking school shooting that happened. Okay?
Driving up to Covenant Presbyterian School just before 10 a.m., shooting out the glass inside these doors.
She entered the school through a side entrance and traversed her way from the first floor to the second floor, firing multiple shots.
The video also shows the shooter walking the halls. Authorities say the shooter was armed with these guns, 2 assault-style rifles and a handgun, 2 of which were obtained legally and locally.
The first about 8 or 10 shots were very loud.
Love
Police
that.
say when the tactical team of 5 officers arrived, the shooter began firing at them from a second-floor window, hitting their cruisers.
There's multiple victims down inside the school. Shooter is down now as well.
14 minutes after that first call, at 10:27, these 2 officers, Rex Engelbert and Michael Colazzo, confronting and killing the shooter.
Guns are quick. They don't give you much time. So even in a remarkably fast response, there was not enough time.
In the aftermath, these images, small children holding hands, evacuating in single-file lines surrounded by law enforcement, terrified faces being bused to a nearby church to safety.
Guys, this is how this is going to work. I'm going to call 3 families at a time.
The 3 students killed, all just 9 years old. Evelyn Dickhouse, William Kinney, and
Jesus
Haley
fucking
Scruggs, the
Christ.
daughter of the church's pastor. 3 school staff also killed. 61-year-old substitute teacher Cynthia Peak, 61-year-old custodian Mike Hill, who was said to love his job and viewed coworkers and school kids as his family. And the head of the school, 60-year-old Catherine Kuntz, described by loved ones as a remarkable woman with a bright spirit.
Strong and steady and hilarious. She had
Dude, the most American thing is also like just being fucking unimaginably brain broken and then exercising that violence on like random people who absolutely did not contribute to your brain brokenness in any way. 9-year-olds that are not responsible for it. It's the same exact fucking thing that people do all the time with mass shootings. They literally go to a place of authority that they consider to be like a hierarchical existence that reinforces rules on their lives, okay? And they just go and unload into fucking random coworkers. You know what I mean? It is so insane. Look at what the fucking Shinzo Abe shooter did. You know what I mean? He identified a problem. He saw Shinzo Abe as like the major point of why this problem was persisting in Japan. He saw that like he personally fucking saw that Shinzo Abe and his party were allowing the Korean cult church to persist in Japan and collect donations from vulnerable old people like his fucking mom. He made a fucking gun and he shot Shinzo Abe. One of the most effective assassinations of our time. Okay? Straight up. I'm not condoning that. I'm not saying that that is a good thing. Okay? And chat should shut the fuck up and stop Fed posting. My point is that there was a targeted, directed political assassination in a country that has no gun violence whatsoever. Okay? When it comes down to it, in the United States of America, there is a difference. Gun violence is seen as a normalcy, as a normal part of existence in the United States of America, and the victims of gun violence in most circumstances are just random people that caught a fucking stray. You understand? Like, there is no reasonable motivation behind it. It's like people that are deeply, insanely fucking brain broken that are products of the system, and they just go to an area where they feel they're being oppressed from. In this circumstance, there might be additional details, not sure. Apparently, there's some background in the Covenant Presbyterian Church with respect to a complex child sexual abuse scandal from 2002 to 2012. There was a 2012 lawsuit that alleges that defendants associated with Covenant, including Bachman, Eads, Avery, and Robinson, were involved in concealing unlawful child sexual abuse by John Perry. Okay, so that could be part of the motivation. Not sure. Still not deserved, obviously, because once again, the people that are being victimized in this circumstance are just random people. Like, the 9-year-olds are not at fucking fault. The custodian is not at fucking fault for any of this shit. So even if this was the motivation behind these actions, it's always random, innocent people that get caught up. Do you have optimism that the multitude of victims of mass shootings in recent years will lead to more gun control in the future, perhaps even far future, because of the frequency of shootings and proximity to people? No. No. Absolutely not. It doesn't fucking matter. White babies were slaughtered at Sandy Hook, and nothing changed. It was over after that. It was so over after that. There was nothing happening after that. Dude, look at this. Where is the statistic? Look at this. The leading causes of death for children ages 1 through 18 is guns, dude. It is more than fucking vehicular accidents, motor vehicle crashes. You think we're going to change anything? Things are changing. Yeah, for the worse. Permitless carry is one step closer to becoming law in Florida. Yeah, things are changing for the worse. Those numbers are going to keep going up. We already fucking know. We already know what happens when you unroll gun laws. We know what happens when you deregulate guns. We know. People talk about how fucking violent California is, but California's gun violence rate is like nothing in comparison to other nations, other states where there are more guns. It's that simple, but it doesn't matter because you literally think, oh, dude, it doesn't matter. California really violent. New York really violent. Little do you know that the direct link to violence, it comes from socioeconomic conditions. That's why South Carolina's murder rate or violent crime rate is actually 3 times almost higher than New York's. But no one would ever think that. No one would ever look at that state, those 2 states, and expect that to be the reality. It is the reality. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what we do about this. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm fucking defeated. It's impossible to be optimistic about gun laws in this country. So we just look at the minor details, the differences between one school shooting over the other. And everyone goes back to the 2 sides that they have and play the role of team sports. Not saying that we give up. I mean, I'll continue my coverage on it. I'll continue yelling about it. But I'm not going to act like there is going to be positive change when I don't believe it. You know? Not coming. The sad state of affairs. Not coming.
Had this amazing sense of humor. I can't imagine a better head of a school.
As police now try to piece together the motive, authorities finding writings left behind in the shooter's car in the parking lot.
I literally was like, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this.
One of the last people to hear from the shooter, Avriana Patton, an 8th grade basketball teammate who received these Instagram messages the morning of the shooting, including, "I'm planning to die today, and this is my last goodbye." Patton contacted the county sheriff's office, but didn't get a response until several hours after the shooting.
Investigators searching the suspect's home, finding 2 more firearms described as shotguns and a detailed map of the school with.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to know how this fucking shit works, like, yeah, they're already like, the fucking freaks are already like making this about trans people in general. Like, Nashville PD released the body cam footage and trolls are using it to celebrate the killing of a trans person. Like, they're not celebrating the killing of a school shooter. Understand? Like, that's what's insane about this. It's like, it's understandable to celebrate the killing of a school shooter. It's so strange to do that, to just have the transness of the school shooter be the overriding quality. They hate trans people more than they hate school shooters. Do you understand? That's what's fucking insane. That's what's insane about it. Like, you're openly stating that you hate random innocent trans people and trans people in general more than you hate school shooters. Well, of course, when you're 4chan, you're the archetypical school shooter yourself. So, you know, that's part of the reason. But it's wild.
Entry points, even markings showing where the security cameras were located. Authorities say the shooter had no prior criminal history.
And overnight, Haley Skaggs' father releasing a statement saying, "We are heartbroken. She was such a gift." And here is an incredibly sad statistic for us on this morning. The #1 cause of death in children ages 1 to 19 here in the United States, gun-related violence. Robin.
Absolutely heartbreaking.
America's latest mass shooting, as you know, took place inside a school full of young children. 3 9-year-old students, just sit with that for just a second. 9-year-old students and 3 adults were killed at the Covenant School in Nashville, Tennessee. Surveillance video shows the moment that this shooter entered the school. We have to warn you, you've seen it. It's extremely disturbing. You can see the shooter, who police say was a former student, breaking a glass door with gunfire. Police say this attacker was heavily armed and this attack was carefully planned. We're joined now by Nashville's police chief. His name is John Drake. Good to see you, Chief Drake. I'm so sorry it's under these circumstances. My heart is so heavy. I'm so sad, so angry and mad. I cannot imagine how you were feeling this morning. I've seen interviews with you where you say that you think the motive here was resentment. What do you mean by resentment? What does that mean? Resentment about what?
So the investigation is still ongoing into this whole incident. But what detectives have said so far is there's possibly some resentment for having to go to that school. There's a connection with that family. Right now, I can't go deeply into that, but because it's unconfirmed. But that's really where that came from.
What makes you say the attack was carefully planned?
So we have a manifesto. We have a booklet that shows exactly what she had planned to do. We have maps that showed the entry point into the school, the weapons that was going to be used, the clothing that she was going to wear. She had drawn it up almost like a cartoon character. It was exactly what she had on during this incident. And she was a previous student. She had some connections there. The head of the school was assassinated in the hallway. So we feel it was targeted and planned.
You think she was targeting 9-year-old children?
It's so unfortunate as this investigation continues to go.
We already talked about this. There is going to be a lot of misgendering, like nonstop, okay? Please stop giving in to the right wing that will utilize this as a fucking opportunity to be like, oh, look, trans people and the people on the left only care about misgendering. They don't care about the children, okay? These people don't know. It's confusing, okay? Gender already is very confusing. And these motherfuckers have no idea, okay? That this is an instance where, like, this is an instance where it's not like weaponizing transphobia from people in positions of power. They're basically fucking stating something that they think is correct. That's why they keep saying trans woman over and over again, thinking that they're correctly gendering someone. Okay? That's it. Is him being trans confirmed? Yeah, from what I understand, from the limited amount of information that has been given to us in a sea of disinformation that's spreading like wildfire, I expect the media to do a good job and talk about the gender identity of the shooter, because it's a factually it's what you're supposed to do. It's a factually accurate thing to do, right? Like, if you say this is a trans woman, you're all of a sudden literally just reporting false information. That's it. It's basic. It's like what you're supposed to do. Or when these guys are doing it, they're not doing it deliberately. They're doing it because they don't understand it. Like, in the eyes of so many people, trans men do not even fucking exist. Like, they don't even understand that as a concept. And two, it seems, with the limited information available, that this person was like transitioning recently. Okay? That's why in a lot of places you see both Aiden, which is what the name that they wanted to use, and Aubrey use interchangeably, even when he's using it in conversations. That's the reason. No, Chad is not fighting for a fucking child killer. Calm down. Oh, Audrey, not Aubrey. Sorry. The main point of contention here needs to be about ease of access to guns, as always. Okay? That's it. We live in the United States of America. Of course, eventually, there's going to be trans people that also do mass shootings. Like, it's the most expected outcome. It's the most American thing. Do you understand? Of course. 3,000, almost 3,000 mass shootings in the past 5 years. Yeah, 3 of them were trans people. Yeah, of course there's going to be fucking trans people that do shootings too, because it's just the most American thing. But yeah, the reason why I'm mentioning this and the confusion beyond it, or the confusion that came from this, is literally because, look, Audrey, Aiden, like even the fucking perpetrator was using both names, okay? It seems like this was a very recent transition from all available information at this moment. So, of course, some fucking 50-year-old police chief doesn't fucking know how any of that shit works. There are people who are in progressive circles that don't fully understand what trans men are even, okay? Because the major point of contention around trans existence always has revolved around trans women, okay? And how trans women should not be in these spaces. Trans women should not be competing in, trans women should not be going to the bathrooms. Trans women should not be doing this. Trans women should not be doing that. All matter of conversation that pertains to trans people revolves around transphobic sentiments expressed towards, more often than not, trans women. That's it. That's it. That's the major. There is no like positive coverage for the most part in a sea of negative coverage towards trans people. Okay? That's why there's misgendering happening. So it's a confusing process in general, and these guys are not doing it like maliciously. They're not doing it deliberately.
Kids was obviously targeted. Praise goes out to the men and women the two officers actually who went into the school, because we could have had far more casualties than what we had. They immediately responded, went inside, addressed and mitigated the suspect. And I give the school credit as well, because for some reason the alarm was going off, the fire alarm, and there wasn't any kids in the hallway. And I think they've gone through some type of training. I'll find out more about that today. But they played a great role as well in preventing more lives from being lost.
Yeah, all of this conversation that moves away from the main point of contention here in the United States of America, how impossible it is to have any kind of fucking change, any kind of legislative change in general. Any point of contention that revolves that moves beyond that is just deflecting away, and it's done. It's basically done because, like, we're powerless, so we're just going back to something that is more familiar. Instead of addressing the issue, instead of addressing the existential angst that comes from recognizing that you can't do anything about fucking people getting guns and just blasting motherfuckers like left and right. You know what I mean? Whether it be their workplace or blasting innocent fucking people everywhere. Like innocents being slaughtered everywhere, including little babies, like 9-year-olds in school. We have nothing. We are so powerless in the face of such inhumane cruelty. Violence is such a permanent part of the American existence, specifically gun violence, that we've started treating it like it's a naturally occurring phenomena. Okay? So that is difficult to address head on. That's very depressing. What do? You go to like what is actually a battle that you are willing to fight, a battle that you fought already. You get it? The battle that you are knowledgeable on, a battle that you're familiar with is transphobia. Or, the shooter's trans. Let's talk about that. Liberals do a version of this as well in some respects. If they're hyper focusing on like another white male shooter, which is, the overwhelming majority of school shooters and mass shooters in general, right? Liberals play that role too, okay? And in some instances, especially when there's a fucking manifesto that specifically pertains to like ideological underpinnings and a hate crime, that part is relatively relevant. But if we're talking about mass shootings, like ultimately the most important component, and I have said this in every single mass shooting, whether it be a fucking hate crime like Buffalo, whether it be like El Paso, or whether it be this one, every single instance of mass shooting that has occurred in the United States of America, the number one principle, the number one factor, the number one contribution is ease of access to weapons. That's it. Not fucking video games. It's not anything else.
Chief Drake, you've spent a life in law enforcement. That involves seeing some things. I'm sure you've been in some tough situations. Could you take us back to the scene yesterday when you arrived? I heard you at the press conference, which I was covering live yesterday, talk about tears coming to your eyes. What did you see and how did it move you?
The media is so fucking feral, dude. How did it move you to see 9-year-old corpses? Like, great. You're right, and that's our right as Americans? What do you mean? Yeah. As an American, you have the right and freedom to fucking not be able to purchase your insulin and die of diabetes. As an American, you have the right to be able to die to just random fucking weirdos coming to your place of work and shooting you in the head. Okay? It's just the beautiful freedom of living in the United States of America. You have a right to basically work at a shit, dead-end fucking job that is going to be that is going to have the remaining fraction of labor protections that it had by being cut into a contracted position anyway. Like you're fucking sulfur mining in Indonesia. You have that right too, as as capital squeezes every ounce of profits that it can from you. So good. So good. So awesome. Love all of these rights, man. It's great. It's fucking wonderful. And at the top of the hour, you have a right to no longer see the ads, okay? There's a 3-minute ad break coming, and you don't have to see them, okay? You can subscribe for $5 for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. I'm going to go fucking heat up my goddamn chicken, okay? You can also avoid those ads as long as you get a gift at a sub. Golden Lamborghini 07, thank you for the 5, get the subs. Oh, here's a 3-minute ad break now. I can't be the only one that feels like, shit's heating up more than it used to, right? Or I wonder if that's just like my own personal bias as a human being. Like, I can't. I don't know. Maybe it's my personal bias. But I do feel like there are mass protests happening internationally, mass protests happening in every fucking country towards neoliberal administrations. There are, in the United States of America, the contradictions are becoming more and more glaringly obvious. And as it happens, you have the right moving closer and closer towards fascism, like openly fucking brandishing fascist ideology. In an effort to basically deflect away from the real reasons as to why you're fucking experiencing this. Governments are trying to do everything they can to stop this kind of backlash from occurring. One manifestation of that is basically this kind of violence that is unending. It does sometimes feel like we are nearing a boiling point. But I don't know. Okay, you can make the same argument for obesity. Sugar and processed foods are everywhere because the government allows it, yet obese people get shamed for it and told it's their fault, not the shitty food. But if that shitty food is guns, it's our right to die and kill others with a heart disease. Wait, what? You think I don't think the FDA should do more to fucking eliminate sugar and processed foods from our diet? I believe in regulation. I believe in regulation and the government actually doing what it's supposed to do. And what the government should be doing is literally fucking regulate guns and also regulate our food supply. What kind of fucking weird take is this? I'm like literally confused by why you even chose to bring that up. Also, obesity doesn't kill other people in the same way that guns do. So that's like such an irrelevant thing to bring up. Unless you like fucking fall on someone? Like, what is this? This is such a confusing point to bring up. I don't know.
I was so hurt. I've done this. I've been in this profession for.
Analogies are always 1-to-1. I mean, it's not supposed to be 1-to-1, but like, it's not always supposed to be 1-to-1. But one, I already agree with the regulation aspect of it. And two, I don't really understand because like the main problem with guns is that it kills people. Like it kills other people. If we were simply talking about guns and how devastating and damaging it is to the individual who holds it, which is true, there is truth to that, then that's fine.
35 years, and I've trained for these type of situations just as the officers have. And when the call went out, I immediately canceled everything I had going for the day, went out to the scene, and it really was just a few minutes from having to go into the school myself. I saw kids coming out holding hand in hand. I saw officers coming out bleeding. I saw just raw emotion. I had officers tell me they wasn't sure if they could do this anymore after carrying kids out of the building. It was just it was a tough scene.
What can you tell us about the shooter? Have you talked to the shooter's family? What can you tell us about this person?
So we know the shooter to be Audrey Hale. She's 28 years old. She actually attended that school. And has some history there. We've talked to the father and the mother. They lived on Brightwood Avenue. We went to that residence, interviewed them, searched the home. We found 2 more weapons there, and I believe some more maps pertaining to maybe some thinking about some other incidents. We strongly believe there was going to be some other targets, including maybe family members, and one of the malls here in Nashville, and it just did not happen.
Chief, your hometown is Nashville. I would like to give you an opportunity to send a message to Nashville and the rest of the country, if you will, because this is something we are collectively dealing with here in the U.S.
I want to say to Nashville and to the rest of the country, we have to do something with gun violence and mental illness. Our kids are counting on this. I was in conversations with my daughter this morning. I have a 4-year-old grandson, and she's considering homeschooling, a place where it's supposed to be safe. We send our little loved ones off. They're excited to go to school. They're excited.
I mean, it's understandable that a cop would literally say this because, you know, ease of accessibility of guns makes police work way, way harder. It's, of course, ironic because, like, a lot of the cops are also the same, like, fucking libertarian, like, gun nuts themselves. So I don't know how you fucking deal with that reality, but, you know. He's not saying it's guns. He's saying mental health. No, he mentioned guns too. But like the mental health one is like so fucking stupid. Rewind, he docks the parents. Okay, guys, if he did that, do you think we should watch it again? What do you think? You think that's better to watch it again over and over again? You think we should just maybe, you know, post it in the fucking chat too? It's so weird. Like, chatters are so fucking weird. I didn't miss it. Shut the fuck up, please. Sometimes when you see something, just shut the fuck up. Here's a really good tip for people. When you see something that's like weird and out of place, one good thing you could do is shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. Shut up.
To be around friends and then have to deal with this tragedy. We have to come together. We have to address gun violence, and we have to address mental illness and make it safe for the ones that we love the most and our most vulnerable, which are our kids.
Yeah, we keep saying that message, and this keeps happening. You said you talked to Audrey Hale's parents. What did they say?
So it's really hard for them emotionally right now. Our detectives have talked to them, and we're just combing through trying to find out what was going on. It was just really emotional because they lost a child during all of this as well. And so it's very traumatic for them, too.
Wow. Chief John Drake, thank you for joining us.